My name is Olivia. I'm 48 and I live on the outskirts of Crestwood, a small American town with lazy streets where almost everyone knows everyone else. After my divorce, I was left alone in this big house. My daughter Maya moved to Chicago for college, then married Daniel, a quiet, dark-haired man with eyes that seemed to hide a strange sorrow. He seemed too old for her back then, attentive to me. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but there were those glances, not the usual polite kind, but long ones, as if he were searching for something in me. Or maybe I was just tired of being alone and was imagining what wasn't there. The rain was falling that day. My daughter Maya called and said she was stuck late at work. And Daniel came alone. I didn't want to sit alone. And I knew you'd be home, he said, taking off his jacket. It clung to his shoulders, and underneath, his thin t-shirt, slightly wet from the rain, was plastered to his body. I made tea and set it on the kitchen table. We sat almost without talking. He studied my hands as if seeing them for the first time. When I handed him the cup, our fingers brushed for a second, but there was something in it, something dangerous. I barely slept that night. I lay in bed, feeling my skin under the pajamas, still remembering that touch. Nothing happened, yet something had shifted inside me. The next day, he was normal again, polite, friendly, slightly distracted. Maya, noticing nothing, kissed him on the cheek and talked endlessly, while I smiled and played the role of the happy mother. But a storm was beginning inside me. I didn't want it. I fought it. A week later, Maya invited me over for dinner. I dressed, deciding to be just a mother, just a guest, just a woman my age. I wore a modest dark blue dress below the knee, comfortable low heels, and my hair pinned up as usual. But the eyes, you can't fool the eyes. They always hold fear and anticipation. When Maya stepped into the kitchen, Daniel came over and sat next to me. Close. You smelled different yesterday, he whispered. It's just perfume, I replied. Not just that. It was alive. Don't say that, I whispered back. You shouldn't. He looked at me intently, with a slight smirk. You're not just a mother. You're a woman. I stood up. Silently, I walked to the bathroom and stared into the mirror. Who was this woman looking back at me? She wasn't me. And yet something long forgotten lived inside her. Expectation. Hope. A few more days passed. Maya had gone to Boston with friends for the weekend. Daniel stayed, promising he'd trim the shrubs in the garden. I was home, wearing a bathrobe with my hair in a bun. Seemingly calm. But when I saw him in the garden, in a faded tank top, with damp, sweaty curls clinging to his neck, my heart started to pound faster. He looked up and stared straight into the window. Right at me. I stepped back from the curtain. A couple of minutes later, he came into the kitchen, pouring himself water from the pitcher. I stood at the sink with my back to him. And again, the touch. His hand lightly brushing mine, seemingly by accident. But it was deliberate. You know why I came, don't you? He said softly. No, I whispered. You're wrong. No, you're just afraid to admit it. I didn't turn around. I didn't say a word. I just heard him walk into the hallway and the door close behind him. My heart didn't slow down. After that day, I tried to avoid Daniel. I didn't call, didn't text, didn't visit my daughter. The kind of silence that rings in your ears settled over the house. I washed the floors twice, rearranged things in the closets, even repotted my houseplants. But my thoughts kept returning to his hands, his gaze, those words in the kitchen. One day he called. I didn't answer. An hour later again. Then he texted, You can ignore me, but I won't back down. Because I feel it. And you do too. I deleted the message. But the phone screen felt hot from the tension. A few days later, Maya came to visit unexpectedly. She brought fresh pastries, stories about work, and loads of mundane updates. Then, seemingly casually, she threw it out. Daniel's been off lately. He walks around quietly, staring out the window. Sometimes at me, but as if looking through me. Is everything okay between you two? I nearly dropped my cup. Between us? Why are you asking? She shrugged. Just a feeling. I can tell when his thoughts wander away from me, Haven't you noticed? No, I lied. We barely talk. It was true, but it was also a lie. We didn't talk with words. Everything happened in the pauses. A couple of days later, I went to the market. I bought a new dress. Just above the knee, loose but with a belt cinching the waist. Light gray with delicate embroidery along the hem. Why? I don't know. Maybe I wanted to remind myself that I was still a woman, not just a mother. I put on new low-heeled leather pumps. It smelled like spring, and I walked down the street, feeling the fabric gently sway with each step. On the way back, his car pulled up to the curb. He got out. "You look like light returning after a long winter," he said. "Daniel," I said. "Just give me a ride." "No talking, please." I got in. The car was warm inside and smelled spicy. He didn't turn on the music. Just the road, the silence, and our breathing. "Why are you so quiet?" he asked. "Because I don't want to say what is already between us." "It's dangerous." "Dangerous doesn't mean wrong." He stopped sharply, just before my house. He turned to me and took my hand. "You're still pushing this away. But don't tell me you don't feel it." I said nothing, only stared at him. And in that moment, I noticed for the first time, he was nervous. Genuinely nervous, like a boy before a confession. This wasn't a game. "Tell me this is all imagined, that I'm wrong," he whispered. I couldn't. I just couldn't. He leaned in, his lips almost touching my cheek. Just breath, not a graze of skin, and that drove me crazier than any kiss. I pulled my hand away. "I'm sorry. I have to go." He didn't try to stop me, only watched. And that gaze burned into my back as I walked to the house. That evening, I stood before the mirror, untied the dress belt, and let my arms drop. Sun marks on my shoulders. A feeling on my neck as if something remained unsaid. Then came the dream. Too vivid, too real. We were in the garden. He was holding me from behind. His palm slid down my waist, across my flat stomach. He whispered things to me that no one had whispered for years. I woke up startled and warm, with the feeling that this was no longer a fantasy. It had become part of reality. A week passed. The phone was silent. Daniel had disappeared. No texts, no calls. Instead of relief, this silence caused a bitter anxiety. It was as if I had stopped breathing the moment he left the frame. I walked around the house, letting the tea grow cold. In the evenings, I went through old things. Even found a jewelry box with my mother's earrings, silver, thin gold-plated hoops in the style of the late 80s. As a child, I always dreamed of wearing them on a grown-up date. That night, I put them on just to remember who I was. It was that very evening when the doorbell rang again. I wasn't expecting anyone. My heart dropped when I saw him through the peephole. Daniel, with a backpack on his back, wearing a dark jacket, messy and tired, but with the same look. "I'm sorry," he said. "I left on purpose, but I couldn't stay away any longer." "You shouldn't have come," I whispered. "And you shouldn't have waited, but you did anyway." I let him in. Silently, he walked inside, placed his backpack against the wall, and took off his shoes, as if returning home. "Maya thinks I'm in Boston for work." "That's bad, Daniel." "It's very bad to live in a house where they don't see you." He stepped closer, not touching. Just standing so close that I could smell his skin, clean with a slight trace of mint shower gel and something uniquely his. "I'm not promising anything," I said, "and I won't play games. I'm not asking you to. Just open the door. Not the outside one, but the one to yourself." I didn't answer. I turned and walked to the kitchen to pour myself water. My hands were shaking. He came up behind me, not touching, and that was torture. He knew what he was doing. And I knew what I wanted. I turned around. He looked at me in a way no one had in the last 20 years. Not like an estranged mother, but like a woman, with eyes, with a body, with breath. I walked toward him myself. 1 step. 2, and I touched his shirt with my fingers. Gently, almost weightlessly. He closed his eyes. "Do you think this can be stopped?" I asked. "I hope not." I ran my hand across his sleeve. He was tense like a guitar string. And so was I. Alarm bells were ringing in my head, but my body wanted to live. He hugged me. Slowly, without kissing. Just held me, as if seeking harbor in me. For the first time in a long time, I allowed myself not to think. I closed my eyes and simply stood in his embrace. Then, not a word. He left as quietly as he came. And I was left alone in my pajamas, in my thoughts, in a body that still tingled from his touch. That night, I had no dreams, only the feeling that something had cracked and would never mend. The next morning, I woke up to silence. But this silence was different, like before a storm. A tremor lived in my body, scattered thoughts in my head, and fear in my chest. Fear that it wasn't over. I drove to the city, took a cab to Providence just to not be home. I bought myself a scarlet lipstick. Silly, right? A woman over 40 with a daughter and a son-in-law, who... But I didn't care. I wanted it. I wanted to remind myself that I had lips, desire, my own voice. In a fabric store, my gaze lingered on silk white, with a subtle sheen. The thought flashed through my mind to sew a nightgown. Hand-stitched seams. A cutout back. Foolish. Yet I bought it. I returned late. The house felt empty, but someone was standing by the gate. Him, in a black t-shirt, guitar in hand. I didn't know how else to talk to you, he said. So I decided to sing. It was awkward, a little childish, but painfully genuine. We sat on the porch. He played something simple, strumming the strings. I sat, wrapped in a blanket, with a glass of dry wine. You have red lipstick on, he noticed. Mm-hmm. I've never seen you wear it, and you haven't seen a lot of other things. He fell silent. The guitar strings vibrated. Do you want me to kiss it off? I stood up abruptly. No, Daniel. Not now. He stood too, came closer and again didn't touch. Just the gaze, and the space between us sparked again. I felt it literally, like electricity running along my skin from my fingertips to the hem of my dress. I smell your skin when you walk past, he whispered. And it drives me crazy even when I don't touch you. I didn't know what to say, so I stayed silent. But I didn't leave. He watched as I watched. He didn't take a step forward, but his entire posture said, I'm close. I'm here. I won't disappear. Period. We stood like that for a minute, 10 time blurred. Then he left, leaving his t-shirt on the porch railing. I don't know if it was on purpose or accidental, but the fabric smelled like him. And all night I slept with that fabric next to my face. It was madness, but it was warming. The next day, Maya called me in tears. She and Daniel had fought. He confessed he didn't know if he loved her. She screamed. He was silent. Eventually, he left, not home, but just disappeared. I listened, sitting on the floor, my forehead pressed against the wall. My chest was churning and aching. She's my daughter, mine. And who am I in all this? Mom, tell me honestly. She exhaled. Did something happen between you two? I felt blind. What are you talking about? Just tell me, I can feel it. You've changed. You've become a woman again, you know? Not just my mother. I couldn't find the words. And at that moment, the front door burst open. He was back. He stood in the doorway, silent, in a crumpled gray shirt, hair messy, sleep deprivation etched on his cheeks. Maya and I looked at him like he was a stranger. As if he were a third person, not her husband and not my sin. I'm sorry, he said. But not to Maya, to me. And she understood. So that's how it is, she said flatly. I took a step toward her. Maya, don't. She raised her hand. I'm not stupid, I saw everything. The way you look. The way he breathes when you're near. You can't not feel it. She walked to the hallway. I heard the sound of her backpack, the door slamming shut, fast footsteps. She was gone. Without screaming. Without a scene. Just gone. Daniel didn't move. Neither did I. I ruined everything, he whispered. No, I replied. We both did. We sat on the sofa. I took off my earrings. The feeling of celebration had left me. We sat side by side, not touching. Only the air between us was thick, viscous, like the silence after a confession. I thought it would be beautiful, he said. That it would be honest. But it's just painful. Because honesty is always painful. He looked at me, and in those eyes, there was no longer desire. There was guilt. There was emptiness. There was me, the way he didn't want to see me. I'll leave, he said. The town. The state, if I have to. That won't change the past, I said. But it might give the future a chance. For whom? I asked. He fell silent. Then he stood up, walked to the door, turned around, and for the first time said nothing. I sat until dark in the empty house in my bathrobe with bare feet on the floor. I didn't cry. I wasn't angry. I just waited. For what? I didn't know. In the morning, an envelope was slipped under my door. Inside was a photograph, old, clearly not taken by me. It was me in a coat against the backdrop of a river. And a note on the back, "You were always a fire." I was just the one who tried to get warm nearby. Forgive me. Period. That day, I packed a suitcase. I drove to the countryside near Memphis to my aunt's place, to rest, to disappear, to find myself. To convince myself that I was a mother again, a woman, a person, or at least just not a mistake. 2 months passed. I hadn't called my daughter. She hadn't called me either. But yesterday, I found something in my bag that didn't belong to me. A small notebook.